This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
The question we are asking in the first topic of the Africa segment right here on Power Business this evening is, why are more South Africans investing in dual citizenship, and should they? On the line, we are joined by Paul Singh, Director of CS Global Partners. Thank you so much for your time, Paul.
Good evening, Tumi.
Thank
you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. This is a very interesting one because it is a topic that we have not had in quite some time, but it is one that continues to develop where dual citizenship presents opportunities, particularly in investment opportunities. Talk to us about whether this is still happening at a pace that it was a couple of years ago in South Africa.
Sure, Tumi. Yes. Well, of course, in recent times with COVID-19, especially, we've seen a huge increase in demand for dual citizenship or second citizenship in certain cases. The demand is incredible. Of course, it's fueled partially by COVID, people looking for a plan B, borders closing. So people are looking to the future, securing the future. So certainly there's an increase there.
Let's talk about then the opportunities that are available in one acquiring dual citizenship.
Sure. So there are various options. Some of them can be investing in a fund option within a country in the Caribbean, for example, Dominica or St. Kitts, where there might be a one-off contribution to the country, and obviously after undergoing quite strict due diligence, and of course I can't emphasize that enough because the due diligence is very robust. You can gain citizenship that way. There's also opportunities to invest in branded, internationally renowned hotel brands who are developing properties in the Caribbean islands as well. So taking a share, for example, in a hotel. Then, of course, there is a simple real estate option where you may well want to buy a property or a condominium there or a villa and therefore gaining citizenship. And, of course, the opportunities on island with the increase in tourism and more air traffic coming in are endless.
We had seen the offshore property market being very popular when we look at trends, particularly where investment opportunities lie, and it does require dual citizenry. Talk to us about, is the property market still number one in terms of the barking trend, or are there even far more options this time around?
Sure. I mean, property, of course, is very popular, Caribbean being very desirable from a lifestyle perspective as well. But also people do opt for the fund option where it's a one-off contribution, it's very fast, it's a secure, quite a quick method to gaining citizenship, therefore being able to increase your mobility. Also, there's the case, of course, of wealth planning and people wanting to invest in quite a stable currency, of course, with the US dollar.
Let's talk about then who, especially when we think of how economically inequality plays itself out. Who then is able to get themselves into as a market participant in this particular area of play?
Sure, of course.
It definitely isn't for everyone, right?
Well, this is actually a very interesting question, of course. But if you've got, of course, high net worth people who do want to protect their future as well, but also citizenship by investment, the inflow of funds onto these Caribbean islands is of great importance because there's infrastructure, schools being built, so people on the island are also benefiting from this. So it actually is an overall win-win solution.
Let's also talk about the flip side then, the risks that exist, because maybe one would be predominantly based in South Africa, but say for example's sake, having investment property in the Caribbean, where we know that weather patterns can get to serious natural disaster levels.
Well, yes, of course. The Caribbean is at the forefront of climate change, purchasing property there. However, there's a lot of climate, especially in fact in Dominica, a lot of hurricane-resistant properties are being developed with concrete form structure. So they're quite robust, in fact, these properties that are being built, and they're quite high-end properties too.
Mm-hmm. Having said that, though, Phil, the economic impact, particularly looking at gains and losses for dual citizenship, what then does one need to weigh in terms of the amount of risks that they are buying into?
I think that there are, of course, you have to evaluate your investment. There's no doubt about that. And similarly, you evaluate your investment in other countries, equally so. But I mean, of course, the Caribbean is a very, very popular tourist destination. Year on year, there is increase. There are resorts being built, and of course, a huge demand for that type of property globally now. So I think that you have to obviously look at the particular property. You've got to look at the investment, and you've got to evaluate it. But of course, on the flip side, you're gaining citizenship, which is a very useful tool, increasing your mobility and creating education opportunities, business. So overall, it's quite beneficial.
In South Africa, though, are we seeing those who may want to, view South Africa as a developing, economically viable country, acquiring citizenship for development purposes and investment purposes this side of the world? Sorry,
I just missed that. Bad line there.
Pardon me for that. I'm basically interested in whether South Africans who actually have the funds to acquire dual citizenship elsewhere, are we seeing the same interests when it comes to the South African market, where those who want investment opportunities in a country such as South Africa are doing so?
Sure. I mean, the investment is generally typically from a South African who's investing in the Caribbean to gain their citizenship. They may well then go on to, invest perhaps on one of the Caribbean islands, maybe into a tourism project, such as an eco-resort as well. But also that South African, by increasing their mobility, their business opportunities are expanding too. And they can also then have that mobility, and they can potentially be bringing more investment, in fact, back into South Africa, because South Africa may well still be their base, of course. They may well have dual citizenship for the Caribbean, but the business entity may well remain in South Africa. And with the increased mobility and business opportunity, bringing money back into South Africa as well.
Quite interesting. Thank you so much for being with us and discussing this topic. That is Paul Singh, Director of CS Global Partners, speaking to us in this week's Africa segment about why are more South Africans investing in dual citizenship and whether they should. Investment opportunities that are alive.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.